What is up, guys? It's Mason once again, and welcome to the round 2 recap of Ghana's games at the Olympiad. Now, one of the first things you notice is a severe lack of testosterone in this video. But before we get into it, I just want to apologize for how badly the live stream went today. I had so many issues at the background. I was trying to resolve them. Then eventually Lichess went to chess.com. I mean, so much is going on. But I'll try my best to fix it so that I can get those I plan to co-stream with me. And hopefully we'll have a fun time. But thank you guys. So thank you to all of you who showed up. I was really encouraged by the numbers that at least stuck with me. You may not have commented, but I was happy to see you guys there. So without much ado, let's get into the game. So we are going to start with the national champion, the female national champion, Gertrude Banini. And I mean, today, two of the girls made me very happy. So let's look at it. So we have d4, knight f6. And the reason why I'm happy, bishop to f4. d5, e3, a6, bishop to d3, knight c6, c3, g6, knight d2, bishop g7, knight g2, f3, castles kingside, and then Gertrude goes h4. Very nice, right? Whenever your opponent plays this fianchetto structure, a very good way to try and combat this structure is to go h4. The reason why this may not be so good is the fact that now your opponent can play this bishop move, which is very annoying. So maybe you want to go h5 and then bishop to g4, right? So normally, sometimes in the landing system, I mean, it doesn't really matter, but you can try and wait till your opponent plays this move before you go knight f3. Again, it's not too big of a deal. Bishop to g4, queen to c2, getting out of the pin, and then we have b5. So we can see that black is sort of launching an attack on the queen side. She's preempting an attack on the queen side, because it's obvious with this h4 move that white is trying to do something on black's king side. So we have a3, putting a stop to it. Rook to e8, knight to e5, knight takes e5, bishop takes e5. I think either way is fine. Bishop to h6, and then we have f3, bishop to c8, and here Gertrude makes an error, and that's knight to f1. She undevelops her knight in order to defend this pawn. It's fine in the sense that you want to hold a piece, but you are really missing out on a potential attack. And again, it's not an easy thing. Maybe it's not an easy thing to see, but once you see the potential damage you can cause to black's king side, I think then this move becomes a little bit obvious, right? And the move is h5, and you might say, wait, but knight takes. It doesn't really matter. Rook takes. And you notice that this initial move by Gertrude opens up so much. Eventually, you can even castle queenside and then put your rook on the square. You could even do that here. You just have to not be scared. You just have to not be scared of losing this pawn, right? If you can deal with the fear of not losing this pawn, I mean, this just begins to work in your favor, right? You can actually do this. But, I mean, intuitively, or just looking at the board and saying, I don't want to lose this, Gertrude plays this move, knight to f1, which again disconnects the rooks once you castle and makes this knight seemingly useless, right? So we have knight d7, bishop goes back, e5, queen slides into f2, e takes d5, pawn takes d5, and now there's an issue on this square, being that your opponent can, at a point, maybe pressure your king in the center. Queen comes into f6 and then castles queenside, which is problematic. Yes, you see that, okay, my opponent can take here and I can't capture back. So you can easily defend this way. Yes, you can defend this way, bring your knight in, and eventually you can even castle kingside if you so do please, or if you do so please. But that's not what happens here. Instead, we have the castles queenside immediately, which still allows takes, because now the bishop is pinning you this way. And Gertrude plays here f4. I mean, she's trying her best. But the problem is, you notice that there's a severe weakness on the light squares. and Gertrude, and her opponent still has this light squared bishop, which can eventually cause problems. And with this b4 move, rook can come in with b4. Like, there's so many ways that black can launch an attack on white. Queen to b6, g4, Gertrude is still going for the attack. G5, queen c6, king b1, knight takes d3, rook takes d3. Then we have the pin here. I'm just trying to get to the point where the position transforms a bit. And now we get into this endgame where Gertrude is in a very bad position. She's down an exchange. She's down a pawn in an exchange. In this kind of endgame, especially with this bishop still live and the possibility of the rooks coming into the, what do you call it, second rank, this is not looking good for Gertrude. So it's going to take a lot to try and get something out of this position. We have f5, g takes f5, knight takes f5. The bishop takes, very intuitive move, takes because now you have the fork, takes the bishop, knight comes in with check, and now she takes the pawn. So even though this should be winning for black, it's not so obvious, right? Because the king could actually deal with these two guys, and the knight is trying to hold on to these pawns. May not really work out, but it's something you have to consider. Here the opponent played the rook in, and I was wondering, I mean, you could have gone like f6, right? Because if your opponent takes, you take, and this pawn has no future, right? So you can play pawn push, the knight has to go back, and you can, if you want, you can't actually keep pushing. You could play something like this. Like, you could do so many other things, check and all those kind of things, right? But that's not what was played. Instead, her opponent went for a check. The king hides in here. And then eventually we get into this position where it's looking a little bit okay for white. Black goes rook here instead of targeting this pawn. You could go, for example, rook to rook to e8. If you take here, then I simply come in here with check. I take here. This is like very much winning for black. But black instead went this way, which gives white a chance. And Gertrude, I mean, she tries her best, and eventually they agree to a draw. Black is still winning this position, but black couldn't find the win. And I think black was like, okay, I can't find the win. And Gertrude's game was the last. So based on the results of the other board, she was like, okay, I don't want any more of this smoke. And then she agreed to the draw. And that's completely fine. Let's go on to the next game. Gijo versus Lewis Williams. Gijo plays as black in this game. And we have e4, c6, the Caro-Kann, knight c3, d5, e takes, pawn takes, so like an exchange, Caro-Kann, bishop to b5, knight c6, takes, and we have d4. Knight f6, knight f3, bishop to g4, castles e6, bishop g5, bishop e7, bishop takes, h3, bishop takes f3, queen takes f3, and here her opponent hangs the pawn, right? So, I mean, seeing that your opponent is removing the defender, you just go this way, right? It may not be preferred, but that's what you have to do, just to kind of like hold the position. But your opponent drops a pawn, and this begins to set the tone for what's about to happen in this game, right? I'm taking the very simple games quickly, then we get to a much, we'll get into other games. So now we have queen to g4, attacking this, and maybe putting pressure here if that's what white was hoping for. But something like this can allow like bishop takes, and if pawn takes, then queen comes in here. I'm still guarding here, and I've destroyed your pawn structure here. So I mean, it's up for debate what you do here. Bishop to f6, rook a d1, castles kingside, knight jumps into e4, again hanging another pawn. Bishop takes b4. This was basically a slaughter. Queen to e7, rook to b1, queen takes c5, rook takes c5. And what the opponent is not getting here is, once you're up material, you trade down, right? I think Mod will just have to make some prophylactic move against back rank, but now she's up 2 pawns. These pawns are not going to survive. If you trade off everything, the game is easily winning. Queen to f4, rook to b7, rook to c1. Finally, she plays the prophylactic move, h6. We have c4. queen to b4. Again, I actually don't really see the point here. Maybe she expected something, but her whole idea paid off because her opponent plays c takes d5, and that's like, yeah, that's it. The game ends there. Yeah, takes, and then yeah, at this point it's just clean up. And Gijo wins and a very easy game. I mean, what more should I say? What more should I say? Toby, who is the second girl that made me happy, played against Leah Williams. Again, in case I forgot to mention, we are the females played against the Virgin Islands. So here we have d4, d5, bishop f4, another London system. Knight c6, e6, a6, knight f3. Again, you might want to wait for e6 before. Knight f6, c3, bishop to f5. And here, I mean, you could just go bishop to d3. I mean, it leads to more drawish lines, and if you don't want drawish lines, you try and avoid this. Again, I think there's a problem with Toby's move order because I think she allows a lot here. You could, for example, play the bishop here first. I know you're worried about knight coming in here, so I mean, it makes perfect sense for you to worry about that. But I mean, you can go this way, you can play c4. If you want, you can go this way. Takes, and you have some good central control. Yes, this is different from what you might know about the London system. It's still drawish, but you have some chances on the queen side if you want to take such chances. So Toby preferring to not liquidate the position to such a drawish position instantly. I think I'm thinking about the wrong game. Bishop d3, knight e4. You should trade out the bishops here as black. I think that helps you. We have queen to c2, queen d7, knight b to d2, knight takes, queen takes, bishop takes, queen takes, and basically we got what we would have gotten. We have f6, aiming to play e5, castles, and the opponent castles queenside, which is very funny, right? I don't know why the opponent castle queenside. Maybe they wanted to play aggressive, but I mean, it's very easy for white to start an attack compared to black. And secondly, the bishop's presence as compared to this bishop, the knight is far away on the king side, on the queen side. Like when you look at it, white is more or less having a higher likeliness of attacking. And attack she does. b4, knight a7, a4, c6, trying to prevent the break, but you can't hold this break forever, right? Rook f to b1, g5, bishop g3, h5, and here Toby plays h4. Safety first is a good move. I like it, but sometimes you can be spicy, right? You can definitely be spicy, right? And the point is, now you don't want to take here because of knight takes, right? It kind of just stops the whole attack. So you want to go takes here first. And the point is, if you take my bishop, I go rook takes. And you are in a bad position. Okay, be like, okay, but the pawn takes. Have you ever heard of an umbrella pawn? Because this is a very comfortable umbrella. No more attacks, everything ends here. And now you have to deal with my threat. If queen comes in here, I take this. I mean, come back, bring the other rook in, or come back. I mean, there are so many things you can do in this position, right? And white is just enjoying himself. That's if you choose to sacrifice the bishop. But again, h4 is completely fine. g4 helps the knights to develop closer. Bishop to g7, and now finally we have b5. Now, mind you, if, for example, you allow, let's just show a move here, but like if you allow, this is checkmate, right? This is completely over. So you have to be very careful how you open up the position, which is why I was kind of criticizing castling queenside when the bishop is staring at your position. So c takes, pawn takes, knight takes, pawn push, knight jumps back, takes, and now the floodgates are open, right? There are so many floodgates open. I mean, you can't prevent what's about to happen. Queen takes, rook comes in. E5 striking, which is very funny because you are still opening things up. Rook comes in. Queen takes, thinking that, oh, you take, I take your queen. Psych. Queen f5 check, and I win your queen. And the game simply is a wash from this point. Toby simply converts this into a win. and we get our third win. Final game is the game between Maud Benson and Kana Jessica. I think Maud was playing as black here. Yeah, we have e4, d6, d4, knight f6, f3, and c6. So funny enough, I used to play this anti-Philidor's defense or the Black Lion's defense. So seeing Maud play this, I was like, okay, I think I can relate. We have bishop to e3, queen to c7, knight to c3, knight b to d7, right? Preparing to go for, preparing to play this move, e5. There are some instances you might want to go c5, but not often, right? We have bishop to c4 and b5. Excellent. Like when I play the Black Lion, if you have this opportunity to chase the bishop, you should go for it. But what Maud does here is that after going bishop to after the bishop moves, she goes g6. You just continue and keep the weaknesses coming up, right? This is what you want to do. You gain this kind of pressure on the queen side. Eventually, you can unfurl your pawns and then focus on the queen side if you do so, please. But that's not what happened. We have g6. This g6 line, I'm not really an advocate for it. I mean, it's fine. Again, when I say I don't support something, that doesn't mean it's bad. I personally don't like it. We have queen to d2, bishop to b7, and then castles queen side. And I'm like, okay, did these guys go in with the idea of, let me just castle opposite to my opponent without considering the position at all? Because when you look at this position, who is ready to attack who? Right? Who is ready to attack who? Black is ready to attack. So it didn't make sense for white to castle queen side. And I like what Maud does here. a4, a5, and here she makes a slight error. She takes. I mean, she's still having a better position, but you should know when exactly to take. Some capture moves in these types of opposite side castling positions don't really help you. Don't really help the position. Here you want to just keep it, and again you can refer to Wesley So versus Hikaru Nakamura in Sinkfield, I think 2015. Hikaru played this King's Indian defense where he slowly uncoiled the pawns, broke open Wesley's king side, and checked the king all the way here, and then checkmated him on this square. You can check out that game, right? So you can slowly get moves like, for example, you can play this, you can get c4, you can get c5. Like, you can really slowly progress and cause real problems for your opponent, right? But here she goes for takes. I mean, it makes perfect sense. I understand why you want to open up the file. That's the point. Bishop takes a4, knight to b6. Bishop goes back. We have a4, knight takes, and now she's down the pawn. That is, white is down the pawn. Maud is already in a winning position. Knight to b6, and now the king is trying to get away. I mean, it's already too late. We have h5. The point is, I want to get my bishop here and keep disturbing the king. We have d5, c5. I mean, I don't have to take, it's not compulsory. Queen comes in, queen checks, knight jumps back, c4, bishop to g7, bishop goes back, castles king side. And very soon I said get rid again. Very soon, Maud is going to really punish white's play. Knight e5, targeting the weak pawn here. We have knight e2, knight takes with check, king goes back. You can trying to remember the line. Yeah, you can actually just take here, keep putting the pressure if you so want. We have knight takes bishop. That's a free bishop, a hanging bishop. No, it's not a free bishop. But then knight jumps in, and then you can take the pawn, targeting the rook. We have h3, knight takes d1. That's another rook. Bishop takes, rook comes in. All the pressure moves are coming in. The bishop is having the chance to come in. The queen can come in. This bishop can also come in. Like, I mean, it's all gas and no brakes. Knight c1, queen a5 check. King to f2, bishop to d4 check. King goes into g3. Quite obvious. Bishop to e5. You lose the exchange here. Nice move here. Knight to b3, forking the queen and the rook. Queen goes to support the bishop. Queen takes, pawn push, and now we simply convert this game into a win. Yeah, so the reason I'm not really focusing on analysis is that most of the games were just clear wins after the blunders of their opponents. But as to what the blunder was is what I wanted to explain. So you should always be careful when castling opposite sides. The question is who finishes the attack first, right? And if it's not you, or who can initiate the attack first? If your opponent can initiate the attack first and you have no way to counter and you have no way to mitigate the attack or to slow down the attack or to stop the attack, then you shouldn't go for it. Here, her opponent opened herself up to so many pressure moves, which is what eventually led to her collapse. But the biggest mistake was literally this side, blundering the exchange. Of course, you are still opening things up, because if you go back, this is still coming in, right? So I mean, it's understandable, but to go down the pawn for that wasn't really worth it. I'm trying to remember who the guys played today. I forget who the guys played today, but it was we're also watched there. None of the guys won. The games were interesting, and I would love to show them, but eventually we all won. We all lost in the guys section. Clinton, as always, he's still doing very well. I wasn't really able to watch all the games. I think Aquanda and Hasford were beaten, I think, in the early middle game. And Daniel Frimpong Smart came out of a bad opening, if I recall the positions very well. So yeah, hopefully in round 3, the guys are going to draw first blood. I put a poll, you can check it out. And let's see who draws first blood as from the guys' side. But impressive from the females. I'm happy to see at least we stopped the bleeding from yesterday. I'm happy to see that. So guys, you can join me tomorrow for the stream, twitch.tv. Sorry, I'll be streaming here on YouTube. I may not stream on Twitch for the entire duration of this tournament in case these internet issues come up again. Once again, sorry for what happened, and I'm working on fixing it. One of the main things I have to fix is my laptop. Not fix, I have to change my laptop. This laptop is ancient. I used this laptop when I was in the university, and that was like 7 years ago. So it's an ancient laptop. So I'll have to just fix 1 or 2 things, and it will help. But if you did enjoy this video, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and leave a comment telling me which country you'd want me to do a recap on, or which player in particular you want me to do a recap on, and I will do my best to follow through with it. Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day. I will see you tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to release this video on the day of round 3, so see you today during the stream. Have a great time. Peace.